Hi, it's Michael. Welcome to Songs from the Backseat. Today's song is Jim Croce's Operator from 1972, I believe. Jim Croce was a master songwriter. He's in the Songwriting Hall of Fame. He had just started to become famous in the early 70s. He had some huge hits, Bad Bad Leroy Brown and Alabama Rain and Car Wash Blues. He was just this amazing storyteller. And then the year after Operator, he died with his performing partner, and he was 30 years old. But he leaves an amazing legacy. He had really only a couple of albums, but they were so great that they generated a greatest hits album. And things like this that we're talking about, his songs from 50 years ago, I just think is super important because it keeps that music alive, and it deserves to be alive. His library of songs has meant a lot to my family. My brother and I kind of grew up, even though we were a little young, we loved Jim Croce. And every couple of years we have another deep dive and say, oh my God, what about this song? And what about that line from this song? And it's continued on for 50 years. And even my daughter, who's born in 1989, I played Operator for her when she was little, and she got it. And that's the beauty of all this. So let's play it, and we'll talk about it.
Operator, well, could you help me place this call? You see the number on the matchbook is old and faded.
So a couple of things right off the bat. First off, the song is called Operator, and the first line of the song is Operator. And I'm trying to think of other songs that have that. I came up with Yesterday, right? Yesterday, Beatles, and the first word is yesterday of the song, but I couldn't come up with too many others. If anybody else could think of any that are one-word titles, and that's the first word of the song, I'd love to hear any kind of answers to that, because it's pretty fascinating. But what it also is efficient, because you have to be a genius songwriter, and we're going to find out. We're going to see that he is. So again, Operator is antiquated, right? There's no such thing as an operator anymore. It used to facilitate the phone call. And matchbook, that's no longer used either. It's used to strike a match and light a cigarette, and people would write their phone number in, and that's what he's referencing. So it already has a couple of strikes against him that this song would last 50 years. Those two, Operator and matchbook, don't exist. But again, the writing is so perfect that it doesn't matter. We are already in his grip of where he's going to take us. So let's continue on.
She's living in LA with my best old ex-friend Ray. Gosh, she said she knew well and sometimes hated.
All right, we got to stop right there. First off, I've watched this video a few times, and I just noticed something brand new that I never noticed before. He's doing these two lines, and he smiles, a little smirk, and I think he's saying to himself, "Oh, wait till they hear these two lines. I got two good ones coming." It's almost like that. Maybe I'm wrong, but she's living in LA with my best old ex-friend Ray. Okay, so he could have said my old friend Ray. That's perfectly fine. But it's my best old, it bounces perfectly. My best old ex-friend Ray. So we're already getting a full picture of that. He's an ex-friend, so what happened there? He was his best friend, so what happened there? And then we find out in the next line, someone she knew well and sometimes hated. Wow. Okay, hold on. That is 5 or 6 words. She knew well and sometimes hated. But on its own right there, that one line is a whole story. We've all kind of had that experience. A friend who said, oh, I don't like that person, or a girlfriend or a boyfriend, or somebody said, I don't like that person, and ends up being close to them or with that person. It's a human concoction. And again, in a 3-minute and 25-second song, he is in those two lines, giving us years of storytelling of this story, filling in all the blanks, setting the scene of what this dynamic is. And I reading about this song, it does come from an origin of truth. He was in the army, and they were waiting to use, all sharing the wait to use the phone, which again, antiquated. And he heard these different pieces of dialogue from the people, I guess the soldiers. And some of them were about breakups, and some of them were about trying to figure out what's happening back home. And, you know, look, a good writer will understand there's a moment there. There's a story happening there. But a great writer can make that into a 3-minute and 25-second song. And what he's doing in that time frame is a very unique premise. You know, there's breakup songs, we've heard thousands of them. There's love songs, we've heard thousands of them. Tell me when we hear that kind of setup where it's he's talking, the person is talking to an operator and having this understanding about what's happening at this moment and trying to work through his emotions. I don't know any other song like that. And he's also got to capture attention. You know, a song is just like a YouTube channel. We need to capture attention quick because people have a low attention span. And I'm talking to you folks out there because, you know what? I'm going to get back to the song in a second. It reminds me, I have this YouTube channel, and I got an email, or I got a notification on my analytics that says, congratulations, people are watching 50% of your video, 50% of your video. I'm like, what happened to the other? They're stopping 50%. And that's considered good. And I'm like, what happens? Why are they stopping? What am I doing wrong that you're stopping watching the video 50% into it? So that said, I have a real interesting theory about this song. And I'm not saying it now because I'm going to hold that to the end. And if you want to stop watching it 50%, well, you're going to be pretty unsatisfied because this is a real gem of a thing I have coming up at the end, and you're going to have to sit through it. Okay, appreciate it. But back to the song. 2 amazing lines. Love the smirk. Let's keep going.
Isn't that the way they say it goes? Well, let's forget all that and give me the number if you can't find it, so I can call just to tell him I'm finding the show. Overcome the blow, learn to take it well. Only wish my words could just convince myself that it just wasn't real, but that's not the way it feels.
A couple of things. First off, I've tried to write songs before. It's intriguing to me. And I don't think this is a traditional song. People can, in the comments, you can tell me if that's the case or not. But the way I hear the song, it's verse 1 and then right into the chorus. And then it's verse 2, chorus, verse 3, chorus. And usually there's a bridge. So I think this is pretty unusual and unique. But again, this is a storyteller. And he's going to use whatever device to tell the story that fits. And that's the genius of Jim Croce. And the other part is when he's got to get a lot of information across early on to tell us the circumstance of what this is all about. And we're in a minute in, and we get the whole thing. And that is so incredibly hard to do. You know, when I watch a movie, to me, that's the worst part, when they have to kind of explain some history to us. You know, a guy will say, hey, brother, remember when we were, you know, and they know, the characters should know each other and they shouldn't call each other brother. Like, things like that drive me crazy. Great movies are able to get across the information that we need in an entertaining way. It's a Wonderful Life does that in an amazing way. You get all that information in the beginning and you don't realize you're getting that information. He's doing the same thing here. He's putting that relationship full circle, 360, and we know exactly where we are. We know exactly his pain. We know everything in this in a very entertaining way. And that's the genius of Jim Croce. But I do want to stop here and just point out the gentleman behind Jim Croce. His name's Maury, and he was obviously a writing partner and performing partner with Jim Croce. And just the way this was filmed, I just think was really beautiful. Whoever's choice it was, obviously Jim Croce wanted Maury, kind of on his shoulder, which is interesting. But the director of this, piece, it just shows the two of them together, and I think it's just a really beautiful two men in sync with each other, two musicians. Maury is filling in the vocals just in a perfect way. The guitar playing is unbelievable. It's in sync with Jim Croce. The harmonies are perfect. It's that song about being in the shadow, sometimes. And he's not a household name by any means, Maury. But what an amazing job. And tragically, he was on the plane with Jim Croce. So, I want to point out how great he is as well. All right, we will continue.
Operator, or could you help me place this call? 'Cause I can't read the number that you just gave me. There's something in my eyes, it happens every time. Think about the love that I thought would save me.
All right, so, as if he didn't go deep enough, he set the scene. In that verse, he's, some men don't want to talk about crying. We all cry. And he's saying, he's shed tears over this relationship, and that's heartbreaking. And then he has the line, the love that he thought would save me. That's Shakespearean. We've all had that moment or two or three where we say, okay, we can give ourselves to this person. They'll be there for me. They'll protect me. They'll save me. And we already know that's not the case. We already know the story with Ray and the guy she hated and now she's with. So a minute and 35 seconds into it, he's done everything. He set the scene. We know his pain. We're feeling his pain. We're relating to his pain. And just beautifully done.
Isn't that
Again, two of them together. Unbelievable.
But let's forget all that and give me the number if you can't find it, so I can call just to tell him I'm finding the show. Overcome the blow.
That's something too. There's some of that in some songs. I'm calling just to let you know I'm fine. That's just another human connection. We've been telling stories to each other since the caveman days, around the fire, grunting stories. And it's always been the case. We always share stories with each other. It's part of our DNA to have this same need to share our feelings. And the reason that's the case is because it makes us feel less alone. I know that's the case. Even though we feel divided, even though we feel like we are alone a lot, when you hear a song as perfect as this, and you're alone, you say, okay, you know what? I'm not alone. He's going through something that I'm going through, or I have been there, and I get him. I don't know his politics. I don't know anything about him, vice versa, but at the core, we're the same. And we're going on this journey together, and we're getting hurt together. We're having joy together. And that's what music is. Music, this is songs from the backseat, I call it. And it's about that. It's about the older person in the front seat, the older generation, and playing the music for the people in the back, the kids who have no choice but to listen to the songs. And I remember hearing, my mom play Frank Sinatra or Tony Bennett, and I'm rolling my eyes. But you know what? It was really great. And I did the same thing, for my kids, whether it was Elton John or Lionel Richie or Jim Croce. And my kids know those songs too, because that's the connection. Uh, that's Field of Dreams used to talk about baseball being the connection, baseball, Ray. Well, it's really music. And, people like Jim Croce are a piece of that and a part of that. On his website, he talks about being able to tell everyday, I'm messing up, I'm paraphrasing, but to tell everyday experiences through an acoustic guitar, because you could just go around and tell stories. And again, it's like a caveman. Not that he's a caveman, but just sharing your experiences is what we're all about on this existence, on this planet. And he's the epitome of that.
Learn to take it well. I only wish my words could just convince myself that it just wasn't real. But that's not the way it feels. No, 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 no. That's not the way it feels. Operator, oh, let's forget about this call. There's no one there I really wanted to talk to. Thank you for your time. You've been so much more than kind. You can keep the dime. Isn't that the way they say it goes? Well, let's forget all that and give me the number if you can't find it, so I can call just to tell them I'm finding a show. Overcome the blow, learn to take it well. I only wish my words could just convince myself that it just wasn't real. But that's not the way it feels.
So, it's like the stages of grief. At the beginning, he's longing, and then he's hurt, and then he kind of comes back a little bit. But it's very subtle. You could look at this as obviously a one-sided story. You're hearing just his story. You don't know her story or Ray's story. But at the end, he says, you can keep the dime. Thank you for your time. And in a way, we get it. we know he's right, and those two are wrong. And it's not over. It's not hitting you over the head with it, but it's kind of solidifying where we are at. Just a brilliant piece of writing again, and kind of keeps us in his orbit. And to know, that we understand that he's been hurt and he's going to be okay. He had to get through it. And that brings me to my final theory. So hopefully you made it, because this is going to be worth it. I don't know about that. So I was trying to think, look, there's lots of songs. There's love songs, there's breakup songs, but there's no song that is like this, right? It's a very unique setting and situation. And I kept thinking about it as really, there must have been some inspiration for it. And I think I may have keyed on it, because you're always growing up, you're 20 years behind, right? So his influences were maybe the 40s and the 50s, because he's in the 70s. And I realized there's a song, type of song from the 40s that Frank Sinatra would be kind of famous for, where he'd walk into a bar and talk to the bartender. And you don't hear the bartender, but he's kind of spilling his guts to the bartender and telling him how he's been wronged or he's been upset, similar to this. But in here, it's the operator. So I don't know if it was maybe consciously done that way or it just happened to be, but I was just trying to find some tie, because again, music has its ties to the past. But whatever it is, if it's related to that, great. But that is such an amazing tool to be able to hear that person tell the story. And Frank Sinatra didn't write his own music, Jim Croce did. And to be able to write it and to perform it with Maury, and it's just a testament to those two talents. So thank you for listening to Songs from the Backseat. I'd love for you to hear, love for you to comment and tell me what you think and give me some songs to listen to, and share this with people who you think might be interested in it. And if you know any songs that begin with the one word title and has the first word, I'd want to hear that as well. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.